That would probably be because I muted my microphone. Is that any better? I'm going to assume not. Oh no! 2 people are now watching. Uh-oh. I better start dancing. I don't know. Can you hear me? Can hear you now. Yep. Oh no! Well, there's at least 3 people in the comments. But apparently, according to YouTube, there's only 2 people watching. Aha! Yes, good. It's working. Brilliant. So, I suppose I have to start all over again then. Hello. I'm testing this as a means of seeing how good YouTube's live streaming capabilities are. So, just to bring you up to speed a little bit, if you follow TF Nation, which is do I have to explain everything? I don't think I do. There's 4 people watching. But TFN is hosting, because the convention was cancelled this year. TFN is going to have to host an online show, which is the big broadcast of 2020. And I've spent the last week working on Twitch and trying to figure out how to get it to work. And I thought, well, if I'm spending all of this time on Twitch trying to figure out how that works, then might as well give YouTube a go as well. See whether or not it's a valid option. So this is what I'm doing. I am here to mess around with this and give it a shot and see whether or not it works. So I'm here for the next indeterminate amount of time to talk to you lovely people. All 3 of you. I don't care. I've got absolutely no shame whatsoever. I will literally perform for an empty room. That's the kind of performance monkey that I am. I didn't really have anything to talk about. I might just start throwing some machinations around regarding Transformers, because I'm assuming you're all Transformers fans out there. He says, patiently waiting for the chat to actually say anything. This is a 2-way conversation. It's just that I can neither see nor hear you and only receive letters in a timely response through the messaging system. I'm going to assume since nobody's typing, nobody cares. But that's absolutely fine. We will go without it. So, Transformers. It's been kind of a weird time in regards to the whole Transformers business. As I say, I've been locked in doing an awful lot of work for TFN and getting that ready, which has resulted in me sort of deep diving heavily into some aspects of Transformers which I'm not familiar with and revisiting some obvious ones. So, where do we start? We'll start with the Twitch streams. I have spent the last 2 days streaming out the first 2 episodes of More Than Meets the Eye, the first 2 parts of the 3-part story. For those that don't know, and I'm sure every single one of you does, it's the first 3 episodes of the original Generation 1 cartoon series, otherwise known as Arrival from Cybertron, if you lived in the UK. So, that's been quite good, because it means that I get to go back and watch some classic Generation 1. And you know what? Like, those 2 episodes, they really hold up. I mean, the second episode is literally just the same 5 minutes, sort of repeated over and over again. I've just been told by my phone, I've only got, which I'm using as my camera, believe it or not. Technology, man. I've only got 15% battery life left. So at some point, I'm either going to have to cut this short, or alternatively, if I'm enjoying myself and you lot are enjoying it, and we're getting more people watching well, I'm not going to say every second, but I'll say every couple of minutes. So we'll see how long this goes. Anyway, point is, those first 2 episodes have been really, really good. I don't know, should I be cheeky enough to say, like, if you have any burning questions, please feel free to drop it in the chat. I am literally just free flowing here. Okay. So if you find this boring and you want to turn it off or you want to leave, then feel free to do so. I'm not going to hold it against you, nor do I know who you are. So it's not like I'm going to come around to your house and hurt you. I'll just ruin you through the court system. Just seems like the honorable thing to do, really, doesn't it? So, yeah, I've been watching the first 2 episodes of More Than Meets the Eye, and yeah, they're great. Oh, well, Joseph says that his favorite character wasn't in it until later, which, well, hold on a minute. I'm going to take a wild stab in the dark here. I'm going to see if we can guess your favorite character. See, this is the other problem as well. You see, this is why I should never do anything live, because I am terrible at going off on ridiculous tangents. We will continue the point that I was trying to make in regards to More Than Meets the Eye in a moment. But right now, let's take some time to figure out Josh's favorite Transformers character. I'm going to give it 3 guesses. All right. And if I don't get it in 3 guesses, then I'm going to say, given the fact that your favorite character doesn't come in till later, it's definitely a Generation 1 character. And I'm going to guess, well, there's not many characters show up in the first season of G1. There's the Insecticons, there's the Constructicons, there's Jetfire, and there's the Dinobots. There might be a few others that I'm missing, but I'm going to say Grimlock. This is the part where we have to wait on tenterhooks to find out if I'm right. But we'll go back to what we were originally saying before anyway. So those first 2 episodes of that 3-parter are really, really solid. Nope. Okay. All right. Does he appear in? Does this person appear in season 1? Because if you're going to say no, they just appear in G1, then I'm absolutely for it and stand absolutely no chance of getting this right. Even if you say season 2, somebody says Wheelie. Good shout. Good shout. Very likely. Very likely. Right. So yeah, those first 2 episodes are really, really solid. And one of the things that I said while I was doing these live streams was that, you know, it's fascinating to go back to the original, like cartoons and put them in context historically, because yes, you had G.I. Joe, which came out before, but one of the things that was really, really interesting about Transformers and G.I. Joe was the fact that they were part of Reagan's cartoon era. You know, after Ronald Reagan released or let go of a lot of the TV restrictions, which allowed cartoons to be violent. And, you know, you look back at Generation 1 and you go, well, it isn't really violent. You know, it's not like anime that came out of Japan or something like that, you know. But you put it into context with the shows that were coming out in the late 70s and early 80s, and the Transformers must have been an absolute blow to the solar plexus for a kid. You know, I don't remember ever not having Transformers as a reference point. I was born in 82, so Transformers came out in 84. So by the time I sort of got round to that point where I could sort of understand what was going on, Transformers was already a part of me. But to have been there, if you were born in the late 70s, mid-70s, late 70s, to go from stuff like, the example that I used was the Mr. T show, And I think that's a perfectly good example. And the reason why I would pick out the Mr. T show specifically is because here's a character, Mr. T. Okay. Anybody who is young and doesn't understand who Mr. T is, like Mr. T like rose to prominence because he was like in Rocky 3 and he was this street tough fighter. He was basically the evil version of Rocky. He was Nemesis Rocky, right? And he was like Rocky. He came from the streets and stuff like that, but he just had a bad attitude on him. Yeah, and he was just going to hurt you. Um, and he became such a sensation and stuff. He ended up on this TV show, which everybody knows, called the A Team. And now the A Team was kind of weird in the sense that it had an awful lot of bizarre ways that it handled its violence. Every time a car flipped over or there was an explosion, people always got out of the way. Nobody died in the A Team, despite the fact that there was an awful lot of guns and stuff being used. The A Team was basically a cartoon show anyway. But the Mr. T cartoon show that was made, and I'll link this back into Transformers, was ridiculous. You know, like he couldn't say "I pitied a fool," which is Mr. T's catchphrase. And why was he not allowed to say "I pity the fool"? Because that was calling somebody a name. You know, he couldn't punch anybody. Mr. T, the guy who rose to prominence in a boxing movie, couldn't punch anybody. So to go back to Transformers, with the level of animation and with the quality of voice acting talent, directed by Wally Burr, I'm telling you, man, like it's a seismic shift in cartoons. And those first 3 episodes still hold up. Right, Joseph, back to you and your favorite Transformer. What have we got? No, I think they are only in season 2. I think. Oh, all right. Okay. They are only in season 2, you think, which means. Okay. Right. I'm going to ask one more question then. Autobot or Decepticon? While you're figuring that out. However, what's up? What's going on? How are you doing? I'm doing all right. I'm busy. I'm very, very busy. Action figure expert. But yeah, I'm good. Like, how is everybody anyway? This lockdown is Autobot. Okay, fair enough. Then that only limits it down to what? Like 20 characters or something like that. We'll figure that out in a second. But yes, I hope everybody else is doing well. I probably should have started with that as well. Like, what weird times we're living in, eh? Like, is that not true? Have you watched any of the DC animated movies? I've not watched any of them. I've watched all of them. Does that answer your question? It's funny, actually, just off shot. I mean, what gave it away that I might like DC? Yeah, they're all literally there. I don't know. There. I'm looking at them right now. In fact, like behind this camera is like a whole load of Superman figures and all of that stuff. So yes, I have watched all of them. Did Rocky 3 come before the A Team then? Yeah, it did. I think. I could be wrong. Maybe he was in the A Team and then went to Rocky 3, but I thought he made his name in Rocky 3 because I think Rocky 3 was 84, 85. And I think the A Team was like 80, 86, 87. I'm sure somebody can fact check that. All right. Review spot. Oh, sweet. A live stream from Kal-El Prime. Oh, thank you very much. Autobot. Right. Oh, no, we covered that part. Hold on. This is where it gets really awkward, where I try to like keep up with comments that people are posting while also trying to get to the points that I'm trying to make. Do you watch any of the CW shows? I used to. And then they all became exactly the same and became really boring. And then I stopped watching them, and now only really watch the crossovers. I think the problem with the CW shows is they're too long. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just getting too old. But give me 6 episodes of something that's really tight over 22 episodes of something that requires an awful lot of filler. I think it reached its peak. Arrow reached its peak in season 2. It never got better than season 2. Flash never got better than season 1. The first series of Flash is still amazing. So yeah, I kind of washed out on them, unfortunately. I washed out on a lot of superhero stuff. Like I will still go see movies in the cinema, but I'm not interested anymore. I feel like unless people do something radically different, then I don't feel as inclined to go see them. I tell you what, this is just a complete random aside. We were talking about Transformers and now we're talking about DC, or comic books in general. I am going to be fascinated, absolutely fascinated, to see how well the next set of Marvel movies do in the cinema. Because I have a feeling, and I wouldn't put money on this, so perhaps I'm not as convinced as I should be, but I have a feeling that the next Marvel movies are going to struggle to make the money that they did beforehand, because Infinity War happened and the story finished. And I think for a lot of casual people, that's it. They're done with it now. They stuck with it for a decade. And now that the Infinity War is done, I think the next Marvel movies will struggle to reach $1 billion. They'll probably peter out and they'll probably end up, I guess, around the 750, 800 million mark for like the tentpole ones. Maybe some of the sequels, Doctor Strange 2, Thor, they might push upwards of 800 million. But no, I think the superhero movie genre is going to start going like that, especially for Marvel. I think we saw with Birds of Prey that DC is completely it's all over the place, you know. You put out a good movie, it tanks. You put out a bad movie, it tanks. I refer, of course, to Shazam and Birds of Prey and the Emancipation of Harley Quinn. I will let you decide which one is the good movie and which one's the bad movie. A-Team was like G.I. Joe. Everyone died behind the camera, not in front of it. Yeah, that's true. Even Duke couldn't die on camera. Right. Okay. Oh, I need to try and take a crack at Joseph's Autobot. Season 2, he thinks. Tracks. Just a random shout there. Under the Red Hood and Batman vs. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are my favorite DC animated movies. Under the Red Hood is amazing. Under the Red Hood might be my favorite DC animated movie of the movies. I've always said the first animated Wonder Woman movie, the one written by Gail Simone, not Bloodlines. Bloodlines is good, which is the new Wonder Woman movie. Like, she's only had 2 in the entire time they've been doing these. But Under the Red Hood is still fantastic. That cast is brilliant. Joseph says nope. Right color, which is blue. So we're looking at a blue Autobot in season 2. Skids? I mean, if you're a fan of More Than Meets the Eye, I can completely understand it. If you're a fan of the cartoon, and that's where you fell in love with Skids, that's a bit of a ropey one. Literally in 2 episodes and voiced by 2 completely different people. What were we talking about? We were talking about DC movies. Yes, Under the Red Hood is phenomenal. But then again, I really liked the Red Hood, Under the Hood, the Judd Winnick comic book based on it. It's funny, actually. Like, it's one of the more comic book accurate, except for the resurrection of Jason Todd. And that's only because of the fact that in the comics, they had to shoehorn Identity Crisis into the story in order for for them to tie everything into the big event that was going on. Like, you know, and I mean, spoilers here for anybody who hasn't read it, but the comic's been out and so is the movie for about 10 years now. But, you know, what is the better resurrection story of Jason Todd? Is it Ra's al Ghul or Talia al Ghul or somebody steals his body and places him in a Lazarus pit, which you're not supposed to do? You're not supposed to bring the dead back to life. You know, even when you're alive and you come back from the Lazarus pit, you're totally messed up. But would you rather have that, or would you have, which they had in the comic books, Superboy Prime punching a wall? You tell me which is the better story, you know. And the fact that both the movie and the comic were written by Judd Winnick means I think I know which story he actually preferred. But there we go. The TMNT movie actually I thought was good. I've only watched it the once. So I do need to go back and rewatch it. But yeah, I thought it was really fun, to be honest. The crossovers they've been doing in the comics are really interesting as well. I'll tell you what's a really, really good one. Is Justice League and Power. Is it Justice League versus Power Rangers or Justice League and Power Rangers? I think it's Justice League and Power Rangers. Like I'm a first generation Power Ranger fan. You know, Billy, Trini, Zach, Kimberly, Tommy, and Jason. Did I get them all right? And you know, I stayed through season 1 and season 2, and that's kind of where my Power Rangers sort of finishes. I think Turbo was the thing that was coming out as I was getting out of Power Rangers. So, but it's a really good series. I highly recommend it if you're interested in crossovers. That would be really good as an animated movie as well. Like, get the original cast of the Power Rangers back to do the voices, and then have the Justice League in it. I'm sure there would be an awful lot of weird licensing issues involved. But hey, they made it work with Turtles. Who owns Turtles? Nickelodeon. Yeah. Who owns Power Rangers? Hasbro. Hasbro don't make DC toys. That could be a problem. Is Landmine the triple changer Autobot? This is the only one that comes to mind. Your favorite is still Flashpoint. The movies. The Flashpoint movie was great. Yeah, like really, 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 really good movie as well. Obviously kicked off the DC animated universe, which is funny. You know, everybody talks about the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the DC universe, but then obviously DC has quietly, for the space of the last like 5 or 6 years, been doing the DC animated universe, which kicked off with Flashpoint. So I always found it quite comical whenever they were talking about rebooting the DC live action universe by doing a Flash movie and doing Flashpoint. That's the way they could get away with recasting Ben Affleck as Batman. I mean, obviously, that's not going to happen because I don't think we should be casting. What was his name? Who played the Flash? Captain Choker Woman. I don't know. I mean, we don't know the full story of it. And I'm not commenting on whether or not he was in the right or not. I don't believe he was, even if she was being abusive to him and stuff like that, but that's neither here nor there. I'm not here as a moral arbiter of the whole situation, but I just don't think you want that guy attached to it. Not only that as well, but he's not a great Barry Allen. In fact, nobody is, to be honest. Like, Grant Gustin is a nice guy and he plays a good character, but it's not Barry Allen. You know, like so many of these comic book movies, like Marvel gets an awful lot of praise heaped on it for how accurately they create their movies and stuff like that. And for the most part, that's true. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to pretend just because I'm a DC fanboy that like I can't appreciate Marvel. What I will say, however, is that their house is built on a lie, because that Robert Downey Jr. is not Tony Stark. It is now. Tony Stark has become Robert Downey Jr. But if you go back and read Marvel, if you go back and read Iron Man comics, prior to that Iron Man movie coming out, Tony Stark was a wet fish. Like, he wasn't anywhere like the I am Iron Man sort of thing. I mean, he was an alcoholic. That was a problem for a start, but every character has to have his flaw, right? But the Flashpoint movie is really, really good, actually. Yeah. And obviously, we've just finished up with Tom King's Batman, where Flashpoint Batman has been kind of like the main antagonist of that series. I still don't know how I feel about Tom King's Batman. I wish it had gotten the full 100 issues that he was promised, and he didn't have to truncate it. What are we doing? Justice League versus the Power Rangers. I'll give it a look. Thank you. No, definitely. I recommend it. It's a good series. You can probably pick it up on Comixology for like nothing. TMNT had some really good crossover comics, especially with Ghostbusters, actually part of the main story and not just a spin-off. All right, okay, cool. Like I don't pretend to like keep up with Turtles and Ghostbusters and stuff like that, like these days. I used to watch Ghostbusters as a kid. I used to watch Turtles as a kid, just as a product of my age and things. Like, even with Power Rangers, the only reason I picked that book up was because it had Justice League on the front. But it's been cool. The Injustice universe from the video games, like, crossed over with Masters of the Universe. And like, Masters of the Universe is one of those series that I always, like, whenever somebody mentions Masters of the Universe, my ear always picks up a little bit. I don't know why. I was never like a massive He-Man fan. Like, I always thought growing up that if you were a He-Man fan, you were getting in the way of the Transformers fans, because He-Man was here and then Transformers was here. If this image is getting flipped around, then I'm not going left to right. But point is, it's like, if you were a He-Man fan in the playground, you were old and you needed to get out of the way of the cool Transformers. And then a couple of years later, Turtles told the Transformers to get out of the way. You realized what you'd done wrong and you teamed up with the He-Man kids because you wanted to still play with your Transformers, but you had to take out... I don't even know where I'm going with this. Point was, everybody ages and everybody gets aged out of being the popular kid. Didn't mean to have the word comics be in all caps. That was weird. Oh, well, it stood out. Damn, AFX review spot Kal-El Prime shot him in one place. What year is this? I know, man. Like, as somebody who sort of phased out of the whole YouTube community thing, and like, I didn't phase out of it because I got tired of it. I phased out of it because, like, life. Like, I got married and I got responsibilities and I had to deal with things, and it just, the time it used to take. I mean, this is like, I started my very first YouTube video. I'll get back to talking about Transformers in a minute. I told you at the beginning of this that I'm terrible at getting sidetracked, right? But my first video went up on Christmas Eve 2007. No, it didn't. I'm lying to you. It went up Christmas Day 2007, right? And for basically a decade, how I used to have to do my videos were set the camera up, figure out what you want to talk about, record it, move the footage from that to the computer, blah, 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 blah. Now, I'm never going to sit here and say, I used to heavily edit it or anything like that. I didn't. I did just like this. I used to just spitball and talk. And if people found it entertaining, then that was cool. And I appreciate the fact that it's not high production value at all. And if you look at YouTubers now, like, high value is pretty much ranked above all else. Yeah. And it was time consuming. It's not as time consuming as what professional YouTubers do. I used to scoff at that, man. I used to laugh. People turning around and saying, oh, this is my livelihood. I was like, shut up, man. Go get a real job. And now, you know, people were obviously much more ahead of the curve than I was. Um, just saying, I think being a professional YouTuber or God, the old man is going to use a young kid's term, an influencer. Hello, I am an influencer. Let me influence you. Shut up. Shut your mouth. I'm far too old to be influenced by anything except for comic books and toys. Right? And none of your bikini models sitting on a beach sipping mojitos is going to convince me to buy the next Jetfire figure. I'm sorry. Like I just go off on these weird thoughts. Right, where were we? Yeah. So what year is this? It's 2020. It's 2020 when my lazy ass has the ability to be able to put a video out without actually having to do anything whatsoever. The most complicated thing that I need to do at this point is probably think about plugging my camera in before it runs out of battery. But I don't know when that's going to be. So like I say, it's a bit of a gamble. Are you excited for the Snyder Cut coming out? Oh, I love the fact that people are upset at the fact that the Snyder Cut is coming out. Why? Like, why do you care? Like, why do people who wanted the Snyder Cut are insufferable, right? But you cannot deny the dedication to it. These people, those people, better be careful what I say. The people behind like Release the Snyder Cut were literally taking out billboard space in Times Square, right? Do you realize how expensive that is? This was a well organized group of people who wanted to see the Snyder Cut. Now, okay, I'm going to hold my hand up, right? I dig Man of Steel and I dig Batman v Superman, the extended cut. I could happily watch Batman v Superman, the extended cut, which is what, like 3 hours? I could just sit and watch that on repeat. It's a bloody good film. I will defend that film to the hilt. I am biased, right? Look behind you, right? If you turn around and you say, I didn't like it, it was too dark, blah, 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 then what I'm going to say is, I did like it. I don't care that it's dark because it doesn't affect the fact that, you know, I've got a whole load of comics in a room down the hall. Like, it doesn't, it. Down the hall, down me landing. I'm not like living in a mansion or anything like that. I was not one of those YouTube influencers. So I really like it. So Justice League comes along and it shits the bed. Oh, sorry. I don't know. Please don't be offended that I swore. I don't normally swear. I did mark this as not suitable for children, however. So take that as your warning 34 minutes in. So yeah, like I did not like Justice League. I thought Justice League was monotonous. It was dull. And the best part of the movie was the resurrection scene halfway through. Yeah. Give me the Snyder Cut. And I'll tell you for why. Because the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2, which is an incomplete movie, right? And if anybody has ever seen the original Superman 2, like the Richard Lester Superman 2 that was cobbled together with footage that was shot by Richard Donner, who made Superman 1 and was supposed to make Superman 2, but then got fired, just like Snyder, right? Well, okay, the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2 is amazing. And if that had been, if the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2 had been the actual Superman 2 that came out, I still think today that movie would be held in exactly the same esteem that the first Superman movie is. And I know people now who will watch the original Superman movie and go, God, it's dull. Yeah, okay, it's not as fast paced. It's slow. It's a 3-part epic. Um, but his version of Superman 2 would have been immense. So DC have already proven that you know one restored Superman film is good. Let's see what a restored Justice League movie looks like. And don't get me wrong, this isn't going to be Zack Snyder's Justice League. I think you have to. I think people have to get ready for that. The original plan for Justice League was 2 movies. That's been truncated into 1. Now, apparently, this cut, from what I've heard, is going to be 4.5 hours. Fantastic. But, we'll see. Moving on. I need to get back to talking about Transformers. I do apologize. Like I say, tangent. Paul, I stopped buying Transformers at 100, but I'm still buying the hardback collecting trades. IDW, well worth a read. I've heard a lot of good things. Oh, Pred? Oh, yeah. Oh, Paul. Agreed. Like, I've heard really, really good things about IDW's Turtles. There's too many DC comics to read. Like, that's a problem with comic books. Like, if you're in on a series, it's one thing. If you're in on an entire universe, and I don't read every DC comic published. I mean, there's barely any comics being published now, so I probably don't have any real excuse. However, it takes up an awful lot of time. Like, one of the hardest things to do when you're a comic book fan is to try and go back and read something that you enjoy, because then you're falling behind with the stuff that's current, and then you have to hide from the internet. But anyway, Paul, hope you're well, mate. Hope the missus is doing all right as well. For needlessly being... Sorry, right, Shardamus. Sorry for being a dick to you all the times on the way back. You didn't deserve that stupid shit. Dude, I don't remember what you're talking about. Water off a duck's back, man. Water off a duck's back. If you were a dick, then thank you for apologizing. But it clearly didn't faze me in the slightest. Please do not take that as an attempt. I'm becoming sensitive in my old age. What's the point in holding grudges? Very good at getting sidetracked. I am incredibly good at getting sidetracked. In fact, let me tell you a story about... No. Oh, I hear you, man. If they did make this my job, I couldn't do this without a different job, wife, and 2 kids. Yeah, man. TJ! Oh, Mr. Omega, hello. Oh, God, this is feeling like such a 2008, 2009 flashback to me. Didn't know we started on the same day. What, YouTube? Yeah. Oh, Christmas Day 2007. Yeah, it would have been. Are you still reviewing Transformers through the medium of poetry? I always used to love that, dude. That was cool. Maybe I'm misremembering. I hope that wasn't somebody else. It wasn't. It was definitely TJ. Christmas 07. Yeah, your Trish bought your Legends movie bots. I like the fact that the fans united across the globe and brought change to the studio, cut out the crap of the director's vision. Yeah, like that's kind of the thing, really, though, isn't it, with the Snyder Cut? I think that's the thing that a lot of people miss, is that, look, I don't pretend to have an artistic bone in my body. I'm just good at standing here and rambling about stuff that I'm completely uninformed. Okay. But the fact is, whether you like Zack Snyder or not, whether you think he's a good director or not, the point is he was hired to do a job. He put his artistic credibility on the line, and when it didn't deliver the numbers that it needed to, he was basically forced off. And the death of his daughter being used as the reason for him to exit the project. Look, I'm sure he needed the time off, absolutely. But you're telling me that that's what then required you to do millions and millions of dollars worth of reshoots to make Justice League one of the most expensive movies ever? And now, we know for a fact that there was enough material in there. The Justice League movie is not going to be the movie that Zack Snyder wanted, but it's going to be an interesting take. We're going to get to see characters. We're going to see Iris West. We're going to see Ryan Choi, the Atom. We're going to see Darkseid, like the actor who played Darkseid in Justice League, like literally tweeted out saying like, oh, finally, like you will get to see my Darkseid. Oh, my camera has like literally 5% battery. Should we continue this? Right. Okay. I like this. I'm actually enjoying myself. 2 seconds. You're about to see the mess behind me while I go and try and find a full charger. Actually, hold on. You can stare at some flashing lights for a couple of seconds. Haha. I'll be back in a sec. Don't go anywhere. Look, there's Christopher Reeve. Right. I think we're safe. I think so. Right. Are we okay? I think we are. Battery should last. Okay. What were we talking about? Yeah. Let the man have his vision. Whether you like him or whether you don't like him, whether you think he's a good filmmaker or not, let the dude have his vision and let the dude return to a point in his life which I imagine was massively traumatic. Maybe it's a good cathartic thing for him, you know? Da, 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 da. Have I missed some comments? Richard Donner, Superman 2 is awesome. RKO 93. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It is so much better than the movie. Like, it's weird because you have to show people the original Superman 2, which, by the way, is not a bad movie. It's not a bad film. But you have to show people the original Superman 2. And again, like the parallels between the Richard Donner Superman 2 and Zack Snyder's Justice League are uncanny. Like the Superman 2 that we got, the Richard Donner one, wasn't Richard Donner's idea for Superman 2. You know, if you've read the interviews or you've watched the special features and stuff, you will know that the turning the world backwards at the end of Superman 1 was the ending for Superman 2. So they had to come up with a new ending for Superman 2, but he never got round to it. So the whole miracle kiss was never meant, was never meant to be in there because what he would do is he would turn the world backwards instead. All I'm saying is the Richard Donner cut is the superior cut. I don't like that Donner's cut had him flying around the Earth again and thought Lester's Clark reveal was better. Yeah, okay. Lester's Clark reveal had Superman trip over a rug and put his hand in a fire. Donner's had him being shot at and being tricked by one of the cleverest women in the DC universe. We will agree to disagree. But yeah, obviously in the Richard Donner cut, the turning the world backwards was there. But again, like I say, that if he'd been allowed to finish the movie on his terms, they would have put in a different ending. So he wouldn't have done the same thing had he, but to create a cut that was saleable back in 2000 and whenever it was, 2010, maybe something like that. Yeah, they had to put the world turning backwards thing, and it was crap. But it avoided the rape mind kiss, which I think we can all agree is a good thing. Nah, that was Review Spot. I was addicted to Review Spot. What con? Oh, yeah. Oh no, hold on. I remember being at the bar with you. Yeah, I always thought that like I only ever went to one BotCon, and I was really disappointed at the quality of the bar. I think, and speaking with people like Jazz Santi and stuff like that, and maybe I spoke to you about this as well, but like the quality of a convention is rated by the quality of the bar, and that bar was tiny. It was really, really tiny. I remember, I'm talking out of school here. I remember in that bar getting cornered, and I say cornered, make it sound like it was an interrogation, by Margaret Scott and her husband asking my opinion on this. Is when IDW used to send us advanced copies of the books to review on the Underbase, and Margaret was like, I think it was it Windblade issue 1 or issue 2, and she was like, tell me what you think about it. And I'm like, I've only just met you. I don't know how to deal with this. It was good. And the whole time I'm thinking to myself, it was okay. Like, that was kind of like one of the standout moments of that night. They were super nice about it and stuff like that. I'm not ragging on them or anything like that. Margaret Scott, incidentally, wrote the last 2 Justice League animated movies, Wonder Woman Bloodlines and Justice League Dark Apocalypse War. So there you go. Interesting. Bloodline, she used an awful lot of Greg Rucka's material from his run on Wonder Woman as a nice little ode there. And yeah, so there you go. So the whole Constantine and King Shark business. Margaret Scott, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, we've got more comments. Oh yeah. Oh look, the comment section scrolls. It scrolls. Thanks, man. Mrs. currently addicted to Animal Crossing. So many people are. It's all like go on Twitter every day, and it's just Animal Crossing, Animal Crossing, Animal Crossing, Animal Crossing. I don't care about your Animal Crossing. I'm just bitter because like my favorite game series seem to be in hibernation, with the exception of like Resident Evil. Like, just saying. So I'm upset that other people are like able to have fun. Spoof of the Ribbon. I think I did see that, TJ. Yeah. I think I did see that one. And yeah, you're right. That was going back a long time. You know what? I always remember, and I think I might have said this in a video once or something like that to you. Like, it was such a clever little gimmick. Like, I always used to love them. They were great. TFN, Rob Paulson, one day. Don't, dude. Like, don't. It's just like, yeah, keep TFN over there, and I'll just keep doing my stuff over here. What would be an interesting team of Transformers for another series or movie? Oh, right. So the TFN UK podcast had me on Friday, and they asked a question. Super nice guys, actually, as well. By all means, go check them out. I would say links down below, but I don't know what's down below at the minute. I'm recording this live. And they asked, like, what would I like to see in a new Transformer series? And I just said something completely different. Like, just, we're in a really awkward position with Transformers at the moment, and the problem that we have is that since 2007, Transformers has become so stale that it's not even funny. And I've said this a couple of times now, and I'll say it again. Like, people are like, "Oh, you're really looking forward to the Netflix show," and I'm like, I was really looking forward to the Netflix show until I watched that trailer, and literally 30 seconds in, Optimus Prime turns around and goes, "We must stop Megatron from getting the old spark," and I was like, "For goodness sakes!" Transformers the movie, find the old spark. Transformers animated, find the old spark. Transformers Cyberverse, find the old spark. Transformers Netflix show, find the old spark. Now, granted, that's 4 series in a decade. That doesn't seem like a lot, but honestly, like, can we stop with the MacGuffin all sparking, for goodness sakes? Can we just have a fight? Anyway, the point that I was trying to say was that for the next Transformers series, do something completely different. At least the new Robots in Disguise, for as much as I was not a fan of that show, at least gave us like all new, brand new characters. Transformers Cyberverse, which I'm only at the start of season 3. I appreciate the fact that the whole series is out there. Please don't be a you know what. Cyberverse, for all of its fun and it's enjoyable and stuff like that, at least season 2 and the end of season 1 were, it's Transformers by the numbers, and that's by design. Hasbro has finally realized, thanks to the 2007 movie, how important the brand is. And until the brand starts to peter out, they won't want to take a risk with it. So you will always get like Cyberverse, you literally have Hot Rod and Bumblebee in the same cartoon series. Now that Bumblebee is basically Hot Rod, what is the point of having Hot Rod there? Because Hot Rod ain't ever going to be... Never again will Optimus Prime die and Rodimus Prime become leader. Never again will Megatron die and become Galvatron. It just won't happen anymore. Megatron and Optimus Prime are global characters, and Hasbro will protect them. The only way you're going to get that is in the pages of a comic book. And even then, look, when IDW killed off, spoiler alert, Bumblebee, he was like back within a year. I mean, granted, he was part of Starscream's imagination, or was he? But that's the problem. Like, Transformers is too well protected now, and that's what I want. I want somebody, because this is a good mental test for you, right? What is the most outside of Generation 1? What is the most influential Transformers series of all time? It's Beast Wars, right? Why is it Beast Wars? Think of what Beast Wars gave us. Protoforms, Sparks, CR chambers. Yeah? Like, and it was made by 2 guys who weren't fans of the original 80s series and were allowed to do whatever they wanted. And they created some of the most lasting pieces of the franchise. Yeah? Just saying, like, take a chance, do something original, and you'll get something cool. So yeah, like, I don't know what I want, because I think an awful lot of fans don't know what they want either. Like, fans want a return to the good old days of the 80s. You've got that. Like, you walk into the shops now, and it's basically 1980s product on the shelves for the main line, isn't it? That's not a bad thing. But yeah. What's the deal with the cellophane? What cellophane? Oh, is that the song? I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, small bar. Just popped in to see how you were doing. Got talking about old reviewers and Discord. Oh, see, now TJ, you're aging me out. I don't know what Discord is, and I don't know what TikTok is, and I'm too old to find out. Was talking about you being one of the first to do anything with me, and I appreciate that. No, I appreciate that. Like, I missed this. Let me stand on my old man soapbox for just a few more minutes. I miss people collaborating, because everybody has their brand and everybody wants to be the next big YouTuber, or alternatively, you're managing to survive and make a living doing what you're doing, and you don't want to mess that up by bringing some idiot on. But I miss the old crossovers and stuff. It was always difficult to try and figure out how to make it work. Now with Twitch and Zoom and all of that stuff, I'm sure it's a hell of a lot easier. But yeah, man, like I used to love collaborating with people, like hearing people, all of that stuff. Yeah, good times. Did you get shot I got shot with a Nerf gun by a random fan. It was so weird. No, but that sounds exactly like something that probably would have happened at BotCon. If somebody had shot me with a Nerf gun, I would have taken that Nerf bullet and I would have handed it back to him politely and told him please not to do that again. You're only one. The last different Transformers show we got was animated. Need I say more? No, you need not. You're absolutely right. Animated was the last time, and again, look at the timing of it. It came out in 2007. It was in production as the live action movie was in production as well. And what happened? The movie came out, it was massively successful. Animated got canned after 3 shows so that they could create another show, that 3 series that looked an awful lot like the movie. And Prime didn't really take any chances. Prime did a few things, but not to the extent that Animated did. Like, just even the very conceit that there wasn't a war was great. Animated was the last great Transformers show. There have only ever been 4 great Transformers shows. Generation 1, Beast Wars, Beast Machines. Beast Machines is great because, again, it's so unique and you're never going to get anything like it ever again. You are never going to get a 2-series religious epic where the Autobots, the Predacons and the Maximals attempt to solve their problems with planetary genocide. That's what happens. But yeah, Animated was the last great one. The fact that the Autobots weren't fighters. I mean, that harkens back to G1, I guess. The fact that one Decepticon was a giant threat. I love that. I still think that's something that they need to explore. How is the IDW Transformers comic? Got Dawson's Creek type relationship. I'm not a fan of the new direction of the IDW Transformers comics. I think going back to the start of the war to show us how it started was a mistake. I don't think fans need that, and I don't think fans want that. That said, I think that More Than Meets the Eye proved that I might be out of touch with that. You know what I want? You know what I in the words of the great philosophers, the Spice Girls, what I really, really want, what I want is an all ages, fun Transformers comic book. I want a Transformers comic book that I can hand to a 7-year-old and go read that. It's really good. And that doesn't have to be, maybe not 7, maybe 10, maybe 12. I don't know. Do kids read comic books anymore? Probably not. But I want a book that I can hand that doesn't deal with the weighty political issues of the day, that doesn't need to deal with how and why, but delivers a strong, coherent narrative with great artwork. That's fun and enjoyable. Why IDW has tried its best to avoid going back to the Generation 1 well, I've got no idea, especially when books like Transformers versus Star Trek, the Transformers crossovers that they've been doing, like the Transformers Mars Attack book, as dumb as it is still probably one of my favorite books that IDW ever published. It was funny. Like the fact that they got Spike's wellies to be important was great. I don't know why they'd avoid that, and why they avoid giving Marty Eisenberg the opportunity to finish off Transformers Animated, because he ain't ever going to get a 4th season. As much as I'd love it, it's never going to happen. But anyway, I kind of hoped Transformers Prime Optimus would die and Smokescreen would be the hot rod of character. You know what? Like, Smokescreen Prime doesn't quite roll off the tongue. Smoke Prime? Screen Prime? You know what? It might have been cool, but again, I think mainline Transformers series where Optimus Prime dies, I think you're going to struggle to see that now. Like, um, I think so. And if Prime does die, it's like it's the last thing that'll happen. It's the Optimus Primal ending of Beast Machines. It'll be the last thing. Dies a hero for everybody's salvation, because Robot Jesus. Um, um, what was it, Paul? What you saying? I just want to show that isn't G1 redone. There's plenty of fans who grew up not watching it, and surely be cool to be left alone. Yeah, you know what? But again, like it's the obvious one, isn't it? It's brand synergy. You need something new to capture new people. That's what they do with introducing the new characters, like Windblade and stuff like that. But then it's Optimus Prime, it's Megatron, it's Bumblebee to catch that older fan demographic. The Nerf gun guy was removed from the bar. Excellent. I like that. They probably were a lot less civil than I was. Oh, right. Last two comments here. I really wish we could have got more animated. Yeah, you're right. Like when we did at TFN last year, when we did that Transformers animated season 4 script reading, like it was a dream come true for me, like and the fans, I'm guessing as well, just because of the fact that we kind of got an idea. I mean, it was never complete. It wasn't even a script, but the fact is, it was the closest thing. Transformers animated, I think the biggest problem with animated. Sorry, I should rephrase that. The biggest problem with animated's ending is the fact that there was still so much left unexplored, and that's the truth of the truth of it. And finally, animated was one of the best, but which is the most fun and makes you laugh the most? Mine's RID 2001. Animated. Yeah, like okay, hold on. No. Let's not jump the gun here. Let's have a serious thought about this. Generation 1 still has my all-time favorite episodes in it. But I appreciate the fact that that's nostalgia talking, despite the fact that through some ropey animation, there are some really, really good ones. Beast Wars has if you were to separate everything out, Beast Wars has probably objectively the best episodes, some of the best episodes in Transformers, but it's heady and there's wading through. That first season of Beast Wars is okay, but it's a reset show for a good chunk of it. Like once they limited the episode count in season 2 and 3, it got a lot better. Animated, it's just great. Yeah, like going back, like doing the different things that they did, the human villains and stuff like that. It's so appreciated now. It wasn't appreciated necessarily at the time. I remember myself, who reviewed all of those animated episodes as they came out, being quite up at himself at the fact that there were no Decepticons for them to fight. But that was kind of ultimately like one of the best things to happen to that show, because as I said earlier, it meant that every time a Decepticon did show up, it was really exciting. RID 2001, that's an interesting one. Like, that's an interesting one for me because when I got back into Transformers in 1999, 2000, no, it would have been 2000. It would have been 2000 and 2001. That was the new show. And, this is long before the wiki. This is long before Wikipedia. So your piecing together, like I went on a mystery hunt, finding out that there was this new Transformers show called Robots in Disguise. Because I wasn't watching TV or anything like that. I had the internet and a 64K modem, and I was going to torrent those bad boys to pieces. And so seeing RID 2001 was like really, really cool. Not only that as well, but like growing up, I was never really subjected to Japanese anime. Like all kids of the era, I watched the Street Fighter 2 animated movie and Ninja Scroll and The Guyver. You know, that was like literally animated me, and I was like, oh wow, this is Transformers anime. How funny to think that David then would realize many decades later that, you know, one of the voice actors in that show would become one of his dearest friends. But I'm gloating, of course. No, I'm not. Peter's a lovely guy. But I do have an ego. Oh god, more. I was only planning to do this for like 10 minutes. It's been an hour and 10. I do apologize. We'll get back round to talking about what I was talking about 5 minutes in. Animated was, oh no, we've read that one. I would have loved to have seen a TF animated Omega Supreme figure. I would have loved to have seen so many animated figures. Oh, the amount of, actually, you know what? No, it's not the amount of money that Hasbro left on store shelves. The movie was out, those toys, that toy line destroyed Transformers for a decade. And I say that knowing fine well that a lot of people love the movies and love the toys and stuff like that. But yeah, the amount of animated toys, I don't know, maybe with the advent and the greater spread of 3D printers, maybe people will start to finally figure it out. I don't know. Been toying with the idea of getting a 3D printer. I don't know how they work, but I'm toying with it. Have you got Disney Plus? Yes. Watched any decent cartoons? Seriously debating on the Clone Wars and especially Gargoyles. Well, Gargoyles is obviously an all-time classic. The Clone Wars, never seen it. Like me and Star Wars. Like I was a massive Star Wars fan as a kid, and then I went and saw The Phantom Menace, and ever since then I've had a passing interest in Star Wars, and I found that these last 3 Star Wars movies, I didn't see Solo. These last 3 Star Wars movies needed to apologize to me for the amount of time that they took from me. That last movie, man. Why would you make a movie that makes the first 6 movies of your franchise pointless? The entire legacy of The Chosen One, pointless. Again, if they'd gone with the original pitch and done what they were supposed to do, instead of cocking it all up in the 8th movie, I don't know. I don't even know why I'm angry. I'm not really angry. I just, Star Wars, man. Star Trek, man. Transformers, man. What am I watching? What have I been watching? Lots of classic movies. There's a really good series on there which I really enjoyed called oh god, I can't remember what it's called now, but it's basically a collector of props and memorabilia, and it's really fun. Like he's tracking down all the classic props from movies like Tron and the original Mary Poppins and stuff like that. Like super nostalgic. Pirates of the Caribbean. Yes, because Pirates of the Caribbean, the first one, is old enough now for people to be nostalgic about it. Oh god, the comments just keep on coming. Please, people, I need to sleep at some point, but I'm too polite to like. The BotCon animated comic was good. Yeah, it was, because it was done by Eisenberg and cohorts. I wish it could be adapted to TV. Yeah, the Stunticon job. I mean, it was the Stunticons, right? So, like, it was going to be cool because the Stunticons are the coolest combined group of all time. I will not have anybody argue anything different. Otherwise, you will get a Nerf gun. Am I the only one that despised the Transformers films? I didn't mind the first one. But no, first movie, 2007 movie, is actually really good. It's a good alien invasion movie. The second one, I remember coming out of the movie, the midnight showing of the second one, thinking it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's not. The third one's better. The fourth one doesn't end. And I am about to hand in my Transformers fan badge. I have never watched The Last Night. I just didn't care. Bumblebee was great, though. I enjoyed Bumblebee. That first 5 minutes on Cybertron, I'd been waiting 10 years for that. It wasn't just the fact that we got to see the war, like, it was the fact that we saw characters who were instantly recognizable. Again, I suppose that goes back to legacy and me turning around saying, I want something different. But the problem is you scratch my nostalgia bone and I'm going to be giddy. So no, I don't think you're I don't think you're the only one that hates them. I don't hate them. I admire them for what they are, which is billion-dollar movies. But I can take them or leave them. I would never actively go back and watch one. Maybe I would watch the first one again. Maybe I would watch Bumblebee. In fact, I would watch Bumblebee. There's no maybe about that. That's a good movie. Movies were harmless fun, but when they advertised Dinobots and only give me around 10 minutes around it. No, you're right. The movies are harmless fun. Like the movies. The movies are popcorn entertainment, but they're meant to be popcorn entertainment for kids as well. And that was kind of the thing with the fourth one, which was just sort of like, how long is this movie going to be? Like, that was kind of the problem. Like, how in the world do you expect a kid to sit through this? Maybe older kids. I think the movie's legacy is what we're feeling now, which is that everything, like I said, is samey. I think that's the legacy of the movies, and the legacy of the movies for a long time to come. Transformers as a brand needs to fail before we can undo what the movies have done. And I'm not blaming Hasbro for this in the slightest. It is the sensible move. It is what every company does now. You know. I would love to see Transformers version of Justice League Crisis on 2 Earths, maybe 3 Earths. Shove GoBots in there too. Interesting take. Incidentally, like when Simon Furman was originally pitched by IDW to do the IDW series, apparently one of the original pitches he did do was a Crisis on Infinite Earths style story. Maybe I'll ask him about that one day. Yeah. Lego has reignited the love for Star Wars. I was never a Lego kid. Simple. I don't really understand the appeal for it. It's the same with model building. I'm too old and I'm too lazy. Give me my toys out the box. Thoughts on Tiger King? Never seen it. I hear a dude has a tiger. Some dudes cosplayed I saw on the internet the other day, and they had a cow and they painted it to look like a tiger. That's about the sum total of it. I don't really watch a great deal of TV. This Sunday I've watched The Lost Boys, Manhunter, and The Burbs. I have no idea. The Lost Boys. The movie, The Lost Boys. I'm thinking of The Boys, the Amazon series based on the Garth Ennis comic book. The Last Night was awful. Yeah, well, so people keep telling me. I keep meaning to like watch Quintessa, is it? Yeah. Like the scenes with her in and stuff like that. Just because I'm a fan of the Quintessons and I want to see their weird take on them. Bumblebee's great. The best of the best 5-minute opener. Yeah, I mean it is. It's right up there with the opening 20 minutes of the '86 movie. Loved Bumblebee. Lost my shit. My wife was so embarrassed. Yeah, right with you, bro. Like absolutely. The Last Night has the awful feature. I think it was shot on 2 different types of cameras. Such aspect ratio, the film's changed from shot to shot, makes me feel unwell. That probably would have been IMAX, wouldn't it? Something like that. And then finally, I was screaming like Ned Flanders in the movie theater during during the Cybertron scene. Yeah, yeah, it's great. It's a great opener. Like it really, really is. Anybody see the video that they did where somebody took the opening couple of minutes and stuff? They edited it down, but then they put the '86 cast over it with all the classic sound effects and stuff. You know what? Works. So works. Hey, take it easy. Tell people I'm gonna be have a good one. Be say, thank you very much, action figure expert. Yeah, I am going. Like it is late here. It's not late. It's 9:30 at night, but it's progressively getting darker as this stream is going on, and I feel like once you're only being lit by monitor light, that's probably when you should take it easy. You know what? Like I've had a really, really good time. I thank you all very, very much. It's no, Paul. It's not early because I know you live in the UK, so it's not early. I'm an old man and I work Monday to Friday and weekends and stuff like that. And I've been at work all day. Well, when I say I've been at work all day, obviously due to the current evil for which we shall not speak its name, I have been working from home all day. But oh, yeah. Right. So, look, hey, thank you so much. This was an hour and 20 minutes of my life that has been absolutely well spent. I really, really enjoyed this. We may have to do this some other time. Like I said, this was purely done as an experiment to see what the quality was like. I haven't seen anybody complain about it, so that's a positive sign. And we might have to do some more of these in the future. But I'll give people some heads up in advance. So thank you to everybody who's stuck around. I hope it's been interesting. I don't know if it was or not. Who knows? But it was good. It was enjoyable. It was enjoyable. Not been sleeping before 12. God help me when I have to get up at 4:45 again. Oh, like when we go back to normality, I'm not looking forward to that. I'm not looking forward to that. Somebody's just asked. Right, okay. This is the last one then, because it's a good question. Hi Dave, what's your favorite Transformers game? My favorite Transformers game is the 1986 Milton Bradley Transformers board game. That is, of course, a lie. There's like 3 good Transformers games, isn't there? Like objectively good Transformers games. War for Cybertron, Fall of Cybertron, and Transformers for the PS2, which was the Armada game. I haven't gone back to the Armada game in years. It was one of those things where, and it looks like I'm going to be sorely disappointed. I was waiting for the PS5 to be announced as being completely 100% backwards compatible with all previous PlayStation consoles, only on the basis of the fact that I would be able to go and go play my PlayStation 2 games without having to drag my PlayStation 2 out and try to figure out how to connect it up to modern day tellies and stuff like that. But that was a really, really good game. It was hard. You had to get those mini cons and stuff like that. So that was good. Obviously, years go by. Obviously, we've had the fall in War for Cybertron, Fall of Cybertron. Fall of Cybertron is my favorite of the two games. I think narratively, flipping backwards and forwards between Autobots and Decepticons and telling one cohesive story and telling the story of how the arc leaves, and the fact that it's a good framing device with having the first level be the last level, and the last level actually like crossing over between Autobots and Decepticons. That was clever. The fact that you got to control characters that you would probably never think you would ever control. The Bruticus, for example, like that was great. I am completely forgetting the Transformers game, the G1 game that was made as well. That's a good game. I loved it for the G1 aesthetic and stuff like that. I loved it for all of that. I thought the combat was really neat. It was more of an action brawler than a shooter, which was Fall of Cybertron stuff, but it was a bit too linear. That said, it was G1 and you got to like fight Devastator and you got to fight Motor Master, and then get to fight obviously the Stunticons when they transform, when they combine into Menasor. So that was cool. You got to fight Shockwave on Cybertron. You got to fight Soundwave, and he's releasing all these minions and stuff like that. I mean, nostalgia bone. Like, that's a good game. So there's been 4 great Transformers games. Do you know what bums me out about Transformers games? I get so sidetracked. I'm going to be here this time next year still talking. You know that Earthrise game that's on mobile? I hate it. I hate it because it adopts the loot base monetization strategy, right? But for years, I have said I would have loved a Command and Conquer style Transformers game, like a proper one. Like, take classic Command and Conquer and reskin it with Transformers, set it on Cybertron. I think that would have been great. And I'm not even a fan of that genre, but I just think that the Transformers franchise would have done well in that space. And that's all I have to say on that. I don't know if that's necessarily the right answer. I'm going to pretend it is because it's my answer. Stuck around to answer your questions. Hey, no problem. Thank you very much for just making this so pleasurable an experience. Hella busy at the con. Most I've got to chat with you in years. I know, man. Like, so busy. Those TFNs like go by in the blink of an eye. But you know what? Like, if I could perhaps do a bit of a shameless plug here. I don't know how many people we've got here who aren't UK based and who don't get to the Transformers convention. But I would highly recommend, if you're interested, go check out the Big Broadcast 2020. It's taking place on the 15th of August. It's being streamed live through Twitch. So if you're a US fan, there might be some time differences. Well, there will be time differences involved. But ultimately, it's a celebration of Transformers. So get over there and check it out. I highly recommend it. I can tell you that it's going to be excellent. It's just a day of celebrating the Transformers franchise. We can't do a convention, so we're going to do a live stream, but it's not just going to be us talking about how good Transformers is. We're going to have guests throughout the course of the day and stuff like that. It's going to be epic. So please go check that out. Twitter, Facebook, go to the TFN ones. You'll find a lot of the details there. Lots more information. We've announced our first 3 guests that will be on the show. Those 3 guests being Peter Spellos, Skybite from RID 2001, Paul Eiding, who was Perceptor in Generation 1, and Townsend Coleman, who was Michelangelo, the Tick, Sentinel Prime. Like, they're all going to be on the show. Like, so that's great. And that was the first announcement that we made. So we've got a lot more surprises still to come. It's just a celebration. Like, it's there for the fans. That's what we want to put on. So, yeah. What else? Stream was fun. Thanks. Nice to see some of the old reviewers on here too. Great to see TJ action. Yeah, like great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Review spot, by the way. Hangout, grudge match. Kudos. Squawk. Right. Okay. That's it. No more questions. Time for me to go. I think we'll probably do this again, definitely. Thank you all so very much. I appreciate it. We'll get back to talking about Transformers later. Yeah. All right. Bye, everybody. Take care.